Well, hello everybody. My name is Steve Boston. I'm a television producer and a documentarian. I produced a short documentary in Ukraine several years ago, produced 2 TV shows, and pitched a whole lot more. For any of you who know television, you end up pitching a whole lot more than you do producing, but that's a whole nother topic. But I have created a new YouTube channel called Ask the People. And in this particular channel, I want to try to engage the public, we the people, into a discussion of the ideas that started America. And the reason I want to do that is because I believe, and many others also, that America is off track, that both sides, Republicans and Democrats, are pointing fingers at each other, saying democracy is being threatened. And it may be being threatened, but it's being threatened probably by both sides. And I think we have to, in order to go forward and course correct, so to speak, we have to reacquaint ourselves with those ideas and ideals that started America so that we can now forge a better path forward. And I mean, what is democracy after all? What does that mean to us? Right now we have a suppression of free speech, we have corruption, we have too much surveillance, we have way too much money in politics, where we call it a democracy, but we end up voting for two people who are selected for us by the moneyed interest. So it is not really a true democracy as originally inspired. So I wanted to go over, I did a video before this about the beginnings at the start of the ideas of democracy back in ancient Greece and Athens, with their form of direct democracy, where it was an assembly of 500 people that came together to decide on laws. And then we have, in this video, I'll be discussing the Magna Carta, which was in 1215 AD. The ancient Greece was 2,500 years ago, so there's a big gap in there. And the world, in many parts, were trying to get away from the crushing tyranny of kings, queens, noblemen, dictators, authoritarians, and we saw a glimpse of that in ancient Greece. And then in the Magna Carta in 1215, in Great Britain, we saw a document being signed by, you could say, the barons of that time, which were the free men. Women and others were excluded. But it was the beginning of ideas of freedom. And then we go to later the founding fathers, who were deciding on what form of democracy America should take. So I wanted to show you this 2-minute film that I put together, some of it with AI, because producing such a 2-minute video would take a whole lot more time and effort. So this is a way to kind of show you a glimpse of an idea that started America via the Magna Carta. So people, please watch this 2-minute video. Leave comments on your ideas of how we can move forward in this country with a democracy that truly represents the people. I think it's time. I think it's time for a reckoning of what democracy really means. Is it really lip service that we're being told, or should we try to return to some form of democracy to where the people are more empowered? And I do believe that. So this is episode number 2. The first episode, if you want to review that, was about ancient Greece, which could take hours, really, with a better historical documentary. So I'm just giving you a bit of a cheat sheet, so to speak, of those ideas, and here in the Magna Carta. And then the next video, I'd like you to come back to tune in. So please leave a comment and watch this 2-minute video. See what you think. Kind of digest what your ideas are, and let's do this together. Let's form a collective group with power to the individual, and then through collective means to make some sort of changes going forward, because the direction we're on now is not good, in my opinion. So watch this clip, and then we'll Leave a comment at the end, and then wait for the next video coming out, probably tomorrow. Thanks. In the year 1215, a king ruled with unchecked power. Justice was bought, freedom an illusion. But then, a rebellion. English barons forced King John to sign a document that would echo through the centuries, the Magna Carta. It was radical for its time, a king bound by law, the seed of something bigger, the idea that power must be held accountable. Centuries later, across the Atlantic, the Founding Fathers stood at the edge of revolution. Their enemy, tyranny, their inspiration, the Magna Carta. Trial by jury, due process, limits on government. These weren't new ideas, they were ancient truths, first born in Athens, Greece 2,500 years ago, and then rekindled much later in the year 1215. The belief in the freedom and power of the individual is the keystone to true democracy. The seeds of it began in ancient times, and later came to bloom in the American Revolution. Now it seems time for a reckoning. Has our democracy been poisoned by greed, power, and the control over the masses by moneyed interests? And if so, are we returning to the same kind of tyranny, but in a different form? This time not by kings and queens, but by globalist power structures that seek to fulfill their own interests at the expense of the people. Perhaps it is time to clarify what democracy really means. And perhaps it is time to incorporate an element of the ancient Greek form of direct democracy into our system of government, giving power to the people over the tyranny of an oligarchy of money. The Magna Carta didn't create democracy. It lit the fuse, one signature, one idea, and the world would never be the same. The question remains, are we now simply living in a world that gives lip service to democracy? And if so, the people must decide how to correct the direction democracy is headed. Once again, America can become the moral leader of ideas, not at the point of a gun, but by the power of our original ideals.